Today we're talking about tuning, as you know, and we're talking about 3 separate ways to tune the guitar. Before we get going too far along, I just want to let you know that there's a click track in the background at 60 beats per minute. While we do anything guitar related, I like to observe the passage of time. So that's why we're doing this, so we can be sort of ready for 60 beats per minute when we begin to practice. But for now, we're just going to start with an A pitchfork at 440 cycles per second. There's not really any need to have an electric guitar tuner. We could have an electric guitar tuner, but the little clamp-on things you put on your headstock, the floor stomp box. There are all kinds of tuners, and those would be helpful for live situations when you can't hear your guitar. But right now, it's a really good idea to really get good at practicing how to get good at tuning the guitar. Today we're talking about 3 separate versions of tuning. We're using frets 5. We're using a harmonic sort of approach, which a lot of us know, and many of us know this, but some may not. But we're using a sort of a composite synthesis of harmonics and fretted tones. Just by using all of these methods and more, we can have a series of checks and balances on the guitar string set so that we know we're in tune across the guitar neck. And if we're not, we've got an intonation issue that we need to check out. But that's for another day. And here's the reference pitch, which I'm going to use to tune the guitar. A at 440 cycles per second. This is what everyone across the globe uses and calls concert tuning, concert pitch. So here's the A440, and what that's going to do is it's going to be, I haven't put it in my teeth, but it's fret number 5 harmonic on the A string. And if you're close and you're not right on it, but you're close and you can't tell where we need to be moving, we can tune down and back up to the string. I say tune down for a reason. If we tune up and then tune back down to the note, we develop this little bit of slack that doesn't go over the nut, and it creates it creates a detuned guitar once we begin to play. So we'll just go ahead and tune down and then up to the string. Then once we have that reference pitch, we no longer need that. We don't touch the A string again until the end. And this is very close, but again, I think it's a little sharp, so I'm just going to tune down. I'm going to use that 5th fret harmonic and then that 7th fret harmonic on the A and the D strings. Okay, this will get us started. Oh, fret 5 on the open G. Let's do fret 5 from A. Let's go ahead and use the fretted versions first, because this is where we'll begin. We want to get that D string, that open D string, as close to sounding like fret number 5 on the A string as we can. That fret 5 is an A, B, C, D note, so that's the same as the open D string. And those are pretty good. And then we'll use D, E, F, G, and then to tune the G string. And I forget that listening is a huge part of tuning. So if we're not listening and spending the time listening, we're not going to be good at tuning. So in order to get really good at tuning, it's important to listen. And I recommend before you play the second tone to listen to the first tone for at least 4 solid seconds. Let me turn off this heater here. Listen, make a big difference. Well, this will be a G note on fret number 5, and then we're opening up the G string. And it's sharp, so I'm going to tune down and then tune back up to it. 2, 3. That's pretty close. The B note, the B string, we've got to tune to fret 4 on the G because that's a G, A, B note, okay? And and I can hear right away that's a little sharp. So we're listening to that fretted tone. And I'm really careful not to drag that note everywhere, you know, because as soon as I press on the note, it's out of tune, you know, the fretted tone. So I have to, you know, be sure that I'm applying a good amount of square downward pressure. On the G string and on all of the fretted strings. We're moving up to tune the E string now. That's pretty good. And then the low E string. Sounds a little sharp. I'm using the perfect fourth to tune to kind of bring it into a rough tuning. Here comes the bride. Right, so there's that reference, that pitch reference, or that intervallic reference. So anyway, so we're going back to fret number 5 and double check everything that's fretted in open position to make sure that we're good there. Now what we're going to do is start on the A string again and start looking at harmonic tuning. And the harmonic tuning is another system of checks, only we don't have to fret notes here, you know, as much. So this makes it more accurate because we don't have finger pressure to deal with. Got to stay hydrated. So we're starting with fret 5 on the A string, and we're lightly touching the string. And we're going to play fret 7 on the D string to counter that, to match up to that fret 5. And to me it sounds pretty good, you know, close enough for rock and roll is what you hear said, you know. And then that seems to be pretty good too. So if the G string was out, I would play fret 5 harmonic on the D string and match that 7th fret harmonic on the G to the D string. So again, once these strings are in tune, we no longer touch them because they're reference points now, right? So in order to tune that B string with a harmonic reference, in other words, no extra finger tension from added, you know, fretted tones here. So we're using that 7th fret on the D string harmonic, which is a B note. It should ring exactly as that 10th fret sounds on the B string. Or it's an A note, right? Did I say B? It's on the B string. We're tuning the B string to the D string on fret 7 harmonic, which is an A note. Sounds to me like something got a little out of, sounds like that E string's a little sharp. Just a little bit, you know, maybe we can wiggle some of that out of there. And we did. Perfect. And then the final stroke on this harmonic section is fret 7. We're tuning the low E string back to the A because again everything else is in tune. We're no longer adjusting anything except for the string of the moment, which is E. So we're tuning the E string to the A string on fret 5. But we won't do that. We'll play the 7 on the A string first and then match that to the low E string on fret 5 harmonic. And to me, they sound pretty good for today. So today, we have one more method to talk about for tuning, and then we're going to move on. We're going to hit it, okay? So we've got a multitude a number of iterations of each note on the guitar string across the string set and across the neck. So we've got an E string. We're going to play, the 12th fret harmonics. We're going to play off those now instead of the 5th fret and then 7th frets area. But we're doing we're going to start with the A string because that's the place that's in tune, unquestionably. And then go back to fret 7 on the D string. Now I can hear a little discrepancy there where it's a little flat. No fret here on the A string, 12th fret harmonic, and then a fretted tone on the 7th fret on the D. So those are both in tune. Sounds like we're going to bring everything up. And this is where it gets kind of a little funky because you can be chasing this rabbit all day if your guitar is not perfectly intonated. So intonation is, we're going to use the open high E string and fret 5 harmonic to tune the low E string to the open high E. But I think that's pretty good. Let's try a chord. The G chord sounds good. The G5 sounds great. And that's definitely something I want to sound dead on when I'm playing acoustic guitar. So that's our tuning, our 3 steps, or 3 stages of tuning steps. So we're basically counter-checking each area that we did. We started with some fretted areas, and then we started with some harmonics, and then we started again with another sequence, another area of harmonics. Just to kind of run around and be sure that all of harmonics, the non-fretted and fretted tones, are sort of all in an equilibrium. So there's a bit of an art to that, from what I understand. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, I'd love to see those in the comments. And thanks for coming in today. If you want to like, share, subscribe, and ding the bell is a pretty cool thing if you want to hear about freshly released sessions. I'll try not to hammer you over the head with this stuff, but be sure to leave comments so I know what we're talking about and what we want to talk about. And until next time, happy picking.